Good morning, everybody. What does Little League Baseball have to do with Easter? Well, I want to tell you a story about one pastor's very first day of playing Little League. It's a story I love to tell around Easter time. I think you're going to love it too, and I think you'll see easily how it applies to you. He says, all 24 of my Iowa relatives were gathered to watch me play my first day in Little League in that baseball field in Iowa. He says, I came up to bat 3 times and struck out every time. Last inning, bases loaded. Our team was behind by 1 run and I was up. He says, I was scared. I was shaking. 200 people on one side screaming for me to get a hit. 200 people on the other side screaming for me to strike out. The pitcher winds up. I didn't even see his first pitch. Whoosh, heard it hit the catcher's mitt. Thunk, heard the umpire yell, strike 1. Second pitch, whoosh, thunk, strike 2. One more chance. And I said to myself, I gotta get a hit. I gotta get a hit. I actually started swinging during the pitcher's windup, swung as hard as I could, and I missed. Heard the umpire, strike 3, you're out, game over. Huge cheer from 200 people on one side, audible groan from 200 other people, and I knew I had failed. He says, I dropped the bat and started the longest walk of my life to the bench at the end of the dugout. Sat down, probably sobbed for 15 minutes, heard the gravel crunch underneath car tires as people pulled out of the parking lot. Everything got quiet. I could hear the crickets. And then a noise from the pitcher's mound. Thunk, thunk, thunk. And I looked up, and there on the pitcher's mound stood my dad, wearing a mitt, holding a ball. I looked into the field. My relatives were all there. Aunt Emma in left field, my nearly blind Uncle Joe in right, bunch of toddlers waddling around the infield in diapers. My dad said, pick up your bat, get back in the game. Game's not over. I sheepishly picked up the bat, walked over to the plate. Everybody started cheering. Dad threw a pitch, and I missed. He threw again. I missed again. About 15 pitches later, Dad threw it right over the middle and whack, by accident. I miraculously hit the ball, knocked it into left field. I ran down to first base, stopped to look around, never been there before, just in time to see Aunt Emma, the left fielder, throw the ball into center field. I thought, cool, I'm going to get a double. I ran to second base just in time to see Todd, my cousin, who was a pretty good athlete, in center, throw the ball into right. And at this point, I knew I'm going to score. Rounded third, sprinted toward home, slid across, jumped up, and then I saw him about 5 feet in front of me. My dad, down on one knee, tears streaming down his face, and he held out his arms and said, son, welcome home. You're safe. And I threw myself into his arms as he whispered in my ear, told you. This game wasn't over. Now, do you see that this is what Jesus does for his disciples after the resurrection? For example, in John chapter 21, the risen Jesus says that to Peter, who had struck out 3 times. So when Jesus appears to him after his resurrection, what does he say? Will you try harder next time? I'm sorry I ever chose you. What a disappointment. Do you promise never to do that again? No. He says, Peter, do you love me? 3 times, once for every time he denied him. And when Peter says, I do love you, he says, then feed my sheep. In other words, Peter, off the bench, get back in the game. I think it's strategic that Jesus chose a spot on the shore of the lake where Peter fished to reinstate him. He was saying, look, Peter, I called you out of being a fisherman right here at this very lake shore 3 years ago. And now, knowing everything I know about you, I do it again. I chose you then. I choose you still. And I will never unchoose you. And you see, the story is there in Scripture to tell us when we blow it. He's saying the same thing he said to Peter. Do you love me? Then don't waste time in self-pity. Feed my sheep. Get back in the game. Jesus is waiting for you. He's got a restart for you. Hey, I hope that's encouraging for you, and I hope you join us every weekend in April for our series that's all about this, Ready for a Restart. God bless you. Have a great day.